Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm Rosa Maria. Today I have a great, simple and easy sewing project for beginners, and we're going to learn how to make a shoulder bag. This is a very simple bag to make. It's very cute at the bottom and it has one pocket inside. You could, if you like, you could add 2 pockets if that's what you prefer, and also keep in mind that the straps here, you can make it adjustable to the length that you prefer. So now grab your tools and materials and let's get started on this project. Tools and materials needed for this sewing project: cotton fabric, lining fabric, your interface, you need zipper, coordinating thread, a ruler, a seam ripper. You can use your pair of scissors or a rotary cutter. A boner is good to have, and also fabric clips and also sewing clips. First, you need to cut out the tabs, and the tab size will be 3 centimeters by 4 centimeters, and you're going to cut out 4. So you're going to cut out 2 for your fabric and 2 for your lining. And your zipper size here is 28 centimeters. And what I usually do is, before I start with a project and adding tabs, I will take my pair of scissors and just gently cut off close to the end, as you see over here, because I don't want this in my way when I'm sewing. So hopefully you can see that. So I'm just gonna trim this as close as I can, as you can see here. And the same thing here for the zipper here. I try to cut this as close as I can. So I'm going to cut one side first, and then I'm going to cut the other side first. And the reason why, like I mentioned, I do that for both ends, I just don't want any metal in the middle of me sewing and attaching the tabs. So first, take your tab here and make sure that you have the piece that is printed side facing down. And then you're going to take your lining and you're going to sandwich it together. I try to align it, center it. Okay, make it even. And then I'll take my fabric clip to secure it and do the same thing. I'll just open up the zipper a little bit. Take my tab here and then take my lining fabric and make sure everything is aligned. And take my fabric piece and clip. So once you have that, make sure everything is nicely lined and secure. And then we're going to take it to the sewing machine, and then we're going to sew right across here. So this is going to be right across here, and I'll show you at the sewing machine. Okay, I'm here in the sewing machine. I'm just making sure that the zippers are together before I start to stitch. And now I'm going to start to stitch. I do a back stitch and then continue to stitch and do the same thing again, a little back stitch. And I'm going to cut the thread, and as you can see here, I stitch across. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Now I'm going to start sewing the other tab to the zipper. Okay, both sides are done. Now that we finished stitching the tab to the zipper, you're going to open this up, as you can see here, and take your iron and give it a good press, and do the same thing to the other side. Open it, Make sure it's nicely aligned together before you give it a press. Okay, now that I finished pressing both sides, now we're going to take it to the sewing machine, and then we're going to do a straight stitch across for both of these tabs. Now we're going to stitch across. Okay, this side is done. Now I'm going to do the other side of the tab. I'm just aligning the footer along the side of the fabric over here. Okay, and now do the same thing, stitch. And as you can see, both are nicely stitched. As you can see, we finished attaching both straps on each side of the zipper. And now we're going to move forward to the next step. Next project we're going to be working on is our strap. So the strap, you need to cut it 12 centimeters by 24 centimeters. And once you cut your strap according to the size I mentioned, make sure that you iron your strap real good before you start. Once you finish ironing your strap very well, make sure that you put the printed side facing down. We are going to fold it in half, and then we are going to iron it, press it very well. I just want to make sure I have this folded correctly and aligned. Just iron it very well all the way, oops, to the end. So once you have that fold done, next you're going to open it up, and you're going to use that fold mark as your guide, because we're going to refold it and just fold it right alongside that pressing fold that we created. And then you're going to take your iron and you're going to iron, and you're going to continue to iron everything down. All the way here to the end. Once you have done pressing this side, then we're going to go to the other side here. Let me just turn this over. And again, we're going to do the same thing. We are going to fold it and make sure that the fabric meets to the folding line that we created there. And then iron again all the way down. Let me just make sure I'm doing this correctly. Okay. Just iron everything down. And continue doing it all the way again to the end. And once we're done folding both of these sides, this is what it looks like. You're going to have 1, 2, 3 folds. We're going to refold it again. Give it a nice good press. And just move this along, and to fold the other way, all the way to the end. Make sure everything is all folded. And we're going to press. And press again. Now that we have our strap nicely folded, we're going to take it to the sewing machine. In the sewing machine, I'm going to show you how we're going to stitch. We're going to start all the way here, all the way, and stitch all the way on top, go around and stitch right back here. So I'm going to show you that on the sewing machine. I just want to make sure that this is folded properly. Okay, so let's go to the sewing machine and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, now I'm going to start here to sew on this side of the strap. Little back stitch. I'm coming here to the end now. I'm going to turn. I need one more stitch. Let me just stitch one more time. I'm going to turn and then do this. Coming at the end, back stitch, and we're done. As you can see, we finished sewing the strap. Now we're going to move on to the next step. You are going to cut one piece. This is going to be the inner pocket, and this size is going to be 20 centimeters by 30 centimeters. So you're going to cut one lining for your inner pocket for that size, and also you're going to cut interface the same size, 20 centimeters by 25 centimeters. Once you finish cutting both of the pieces of fabric, the pieces that you need, you're going to take your interface and make sure that you take the side that is sticky or shiny, and you're going to place it down on the lining. And then you're going to take your fabric, and I'm sorry, not take your fabric, you're going to take your iron, and I'm just going to turn this the other way around, makes it easier. And I'm going to start to iron it. Once you finish sewing the interface onto the lining of the pocket, make sure that your lining is facing up and your interface is in the back. So now we're going to fold it, and then I'm going to take my fabric clip and the other one over here, and then I'm going to just clip over here and one more here on this side. So we're going to sew here all the way down, and the same way to this direction also, all the way down. And we're going to leave a space here opening. Do not stitch across. This should be open. Again, we're going to stitch down. So let's go to the sewing machine. Now I'm going to start back stitch and then continue to sew. Turn, making sure that the fabric is aligned with the foot presser. I'm going to remove the fabric clip and continue to sew all the way down. And the back stitched. And now I'm going to start to sew the other side. So right over here, and back stitch, and we finish sewing the areas we needed and making sure that this area is open. Okay, as I mentioned, we left this area open. Now I'm gonna take my pair of scissors and I'm just gonna snip off the corner, just being careful that I don't snip right across the thread. And now I'm gonna turn it inside out. And this is where the boner comes in hand to kind of help things move a little bit quicker. So I use this for the corner, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the other corner. Let me get this corner here too, and this corner here. Okay, now that I have those corners pulled out, let me just go and do this one real quickly. Okay, now I'm going to just turn this opening or the fabric in. And also I want everybody to know, putting the interface on the lining is optional. I usually do that because when you're putting items in your pocket in and out, it will tend to wear out, and sometimes, for me, in my case, it wears out, and I just want to give a little sturdiness so it will hold a little longer. Okay, I'm giving it a nice good press. Okay. Now that we gave it a good press, we are going to now, we're going to stitch, instead of stitching here, leave this area alone, we are going to stitch right here across. So I'll show you, it's about 1.5 centimeters. So we're going to stitch it right up. Now remember to sew here on the top here 1.5 centimeters, and make sure that the opening is here in the bottom. This is what it should look like when you finish stitching here at the top. Okay, now that we've finished stitching on top of this inner pocket, and remember, we still need to have the opening here open. You're gonna take two of your linings and make sure that you cut your linings 26 centimeters by 34 centimeters. Once you cut these two pieces out and you iron it very well, you're gonna just take one piece and put it aside. And I'm gonna tilt it this way. And then I'm going to fold the lining in half. And I'm gonna create that fold. So when I create that fold, I'm gonna do the same thing to the inner pocket. I'm going to create that fold, and it'll be much easier for me to align the fold of the inner pocket with the fold of the lining. I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to measure 5 centimeters from the below. Make sure that the opening is on the bottom and align. And once that is done, you're going to take your sewing pins and you're gonna not attach, but you're gonna place the sewing pins. Okay. So I want to make sure that everything is secure, it doesn't move when I'm sewing. And then we're gonna take it to the sewing machine. And then we're gonna start over here. Remember, this is the top, that's the bottom. So the top, we're gonna leave it untouched, it's not stitched. We're gonna stitch here all the way to the bottom, then across, and then right back up, and then just leave this opening alone. So let's go to the sewing machine. So now I'm going to start to sew. I'm making sure that the pocket is aligned to the foot of the presser. So let me start. Back stitch. I'm going to continue to sew all the way straight down and removing the sewing pin. Okay, down here at the bottom, I am going to turn it and then continue sewing. Stitch, and then turn it again, and then I'm going to continue sewing. And then back stitch, and we are done. This is how it should look like. As you can see, we finished sewing the pocket to the lining, and we still have the opening here. You're going to take your other lining and make sure that you place it above, well, on top, and make sure that the pocket here is sandwiched, okay? And nicely align. Usually what I try to do is I try to put a sewing pin to kind of keep things together so nothing shifts. And that's what I'm doing over here. So I'm gonna move it forward so you can see what I'm doing. So remember, the opening of the pocket is here on top. This is the bottom. You're gonna create a template, and it's gonna be 4 centimeters by 4 centimeters. And you're gonna take your friction pen, only for the bottom. And you're gonna align this here and make a marking. And also on the other side, make a little nice marking here. And I'm going to take my pair of scissors and I'm going to cut it out. And making sure it's done right. Piece over here that I have to get to. All right, and the next one here. Okay, now that I have that done, I'm gonna put the lining aside. And you're gonna take your fabric pieces, and there are 2 of them here. And also you wanna make sure that you cut 2 pieces, and the size here will be, let me put this nicely, will be 26 centimeters and 34 centimeters. Once you have both of these 2 fabric pieces cut, place one of the fabric facing up and make sure you iron very well. And then the second piece of fabric, you're going to have it facing down. So both patterns are going to be facing each other. And again, I'm going to take my sewing pin to secure so nothing shifts. And only the bottom. Again, you're going to also make a marking, and you're going to cut out a little square. And for the other side too. Now that I have my fabric piece corners cut and also the lining, we're gonna go to the next step and show you what to do. Take your printed side fabric and make sure it's facing up, and then take your zipper, make sure the face of the zipper is facing down, and then take one of your lining And then you're going to place it right on top, and you're going to make sure everything is aligned. And then you're going to use your fabric clips to clip everything together, sandwich it all. First, take one piece of your fabric material, make sure it's facing up, and then you're going to take your zipper and make sure that the face of the zipper is facing down here at the edge. And then you're going to take one piece of your lining and you're going to lie it right on top here. So you're going to sandwich everything here all together. And then you're going to take your fabric clips and start clipping to secure. And then we're going to take it to the sewing machine and stitch right here on top across to secure the zipper to the lining and to the fabric. So let's go to the sewing machine. We're here at the sewing machine. I'm going to start to sew. Back stitch to secure. I'm coming close to the zipper, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift the foot presser and just move the zipper out of the way, and then now lower the foot presser down, and I'm going to continue to sew. Back stitch, and we are done. Now that we finished stitching across, now we're going to open. As you can see what I'm doing here, I'm opening. And taking the iron, and I'm going to start to iron this down here. Open the zipper, and then I'm going to flip it to the other side where the lining is, close the zipper here, and do the same thing, giving a good press. Once you finish doing that, we're going to take it to the sewing machine, and then we're going to top stitch right here across. I'm going to start to sew, back stitch, stitch, and we are done. Okay, now that we've finished stitching here on top, I'm going to take my other fabric piece, make sure it's facing up, and then I'm going to lay this flat print to print facing each other, aligning it. And then I'm going to take the other lining and line it right on top. Let me just move this around, so it makes it easier for me to clip on the fabric clips. So I'm going to take one, again, make sure everything is all aligned, and clip, sandwich everything all together. Oops, wrong way. And then we're going to take it to the sewing machine, and then we are going to top stitch here all the way here on the top. I'm going to start to sew, back stitch, now I'm going to open up the zipper, or I should say move the zipper out of the way. Let me just open up the foot presser. Okay. Lower it and continue to sew. Let me just make a little small adjustments here. We're done. Now that we finished stitching the side, now we're gonna open this up. And I'm gonna take my iron and give it a good press here. Flip it to the other side with the lining. Do the same thing. Give it a nice good press. And once you finish giving it a good press on both sides, we're going to take it to the sewing machine, and then we're going to top stitch here along this side. Okay, now in the sewing machine, and we're going to start to sew. Back stitch. Okay, we finished top stitching this side. Now, I'm just gonna snip off some extra, let me do it this way here, some extra fabric that is sticking out. So I'm gonna trim this off. And now, I'm gonna show you the next step. You're going to take both of the printed side and you're going to put them together. And the same thing will go for the lining. So before I do that, I'm just going to open up the zipper a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to have these flatten here a little bit, and I'm going to put the fabric clip on this end and do the same thing to this side here. Take the fabric clip and pull the end. And do the same thing on these side, on these areas, except for here. Here I'm going to just make a little note. Just make sure you leave a space here. So continue putting the fabric clips around the fabric. Now that we finished sewing the areas that we needed to do and leaving these 4 areas open, the next step is I'm gonna put my hand here through just to make sure that I left the zipper open. Okay, it's open. So here at the bottom here, we are going to start to prepare our corners. So make sure that you open your seams. Oh, goodness sake. Okay. Okay, so now make sure that both of these the seams are aligned together. And then you are going to open it up. Make sure they're open. And once they're open, you could take your sewing pin. Okay, keep it together. And then you're going to do the same thing to all of the corners here. You're going to do that for this one. And there's 2 more corners here in the bottom. You're going to do the same thing. So once you finish that, we're going to go to the sewing machine, and then we are going to stitch our corners together. Okay, let me just do this last one thing, making sure everything is even. Take my sewing pin. Okay, so at the sewing machine, we're going to sew 1 centimeter for the seam allowance. We're here in the sewing machine, and another reminder again is we're going to be using 1 centimeter as the seam allowance. Let me start to sew and back stitch. I'm going to remove the sewing pin and continue sewing. And back stitch. And now you're going to do the same thing to the other 4 corners of the fabric. Now that we finished sewing all of the 4 corners of the bag, now the next step is we are going to take, I'm going to just move this, we're going to take this corner, and we're going to align them together. Make sure that they're aligned. And I'm going to take my fabric pins here to secure. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to take this corner and this corner, and then I'm going to align them together. Take the fabric clips, and then we are going to take it to the sewing machine, and we're going to sew here, and we're going to do the same thing to this side over here, and we're going to sew here. Okay, as you can see, we finished stitching here, and also we finished stitching here. Next, we're going to turn this. Okay. So now that we turn the material so we can see the lining, so we're going to fold
this end over here. Let me see if I can do this correctly. Okay. Okay. All this here. And then we're gonna take it to the sewing machine. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna clip it now. Okay. So we're gonna take this to the sewing machine. This is the opening with the lining, and we're gonna stitch straight across. Now that we finished stitching the lining opening, now I'm gonna turn it around, inside out I mean. And I forgot one more thing. Needed my boner here. So now I'm just gonna make sure that I take these ends where the tabs are and stick them out. Okay. Now that I have the tabs out, oh, okay, I thought I had it out. Okay, so now that the tabs are fully out, make sure you stick them out. Now that these tabs are out, these tab out, I'm gonna take my fabric clip and I'm gonna clip here. And I'm gonna clip over here. Do the same thing to this side. Clip and then clip it. And once I do that, I just want to snip off here the end. And I'm gonna do the same thing to this side, just snip off here the little end. Remove the tabs, turn the fabric inside out, and as you can see here, just want to make sure this is nicely aligned. Anything that I need to remove, I will remove. Let me just trim this here and do the same thing to this side. Just trim. And then we're going to take our fabric strap, the handle, and we're going to put it right through. Okay, now that it's right through, I'm going to take this fabric clip to clip it here and to clip it over here. And do the same thing to this side. Just insert it here. And do the same thing. Clip it and then clip it over. We're going to take it to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch across here and do the same thing, stitch across here. As you can see, we stitched both sides. And now that we finished doing that, I'm going to turn the fabric inside out. And now for the final, we are going to take the end here. And then we're going to do a final stitch here. And then we're going to do the same thing and do a final stitch here across. As you can see, we finished stitching across. both sides of the bag, and we are done. I'm just gonna open up. The zipper is working. We have our inner pocket here, and this is a very cute bag. You can use fusible fleece, which gives the bag a little more sturdiness, but I think this bag is kind of cute that I can use when I'm going to go around and take care of my errand. So we are done making this cute bag. I hope everyone enjoyed this tutorial on how to make this shoulder bag. It's really cute. In the description box below, I have listed all the materials and tools needed to make this project, and also a link where you can purchase the materials. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends and your family. So hopefully till next time, see ya.